Hey everybody, how's it going? I just really want to make a little video giving my final thoughts on the election this year, and I guess just a little bit about my thoughts on a potential Trump presidency and a potential Clinton presidency in general. The first thing here, I'll turn a little bit so you can see all of my face instead of mysterious half of it being hidden. First off, I want to say that my prediction from a few weeks ago has really not changed. In fact, I actually feel quite vindicated as the polls have been tightening and have been showing that my prediction from a few weeks ago was actually pretty spot on. Iowa, Arizona, Georgia, Ohio, those are safe Trump states. I know even a few weeks ago, there were all of these people in the mainstream media counting them all as states. Oh, they're a toss-up, Hillary might win Georgia, she might win Arizona. Even back then, I could see those were not toss-ups. Those were clearly going for Trump. And now even most people on the left have conceded those states are going to go to Trump. And they aren't counting those as Hillary states in their final predictions. A lot of leftists, they're still deluding themselves a little bit, thinking that Hillary is going to win North Carolina. I'm 98% positive that Trump is going to win North Carolina, maybe even 99% positive. I would actually be quite shocked if Trump does not pick up North Carolina. Florida is a little more up in the air, but again, I would put that as a safe Trump state. I would be very surprised if Trump lost Florida. So really, it's the same as the map I had a few weeks ago. Trump is for sure going to win all of those states that I just mentioned, and then he just needs to flip one more state that leans Clinton in order to win the election. And I don't consider those states to be lean Clinton states, even though everyone else seems to in the mainstream media. I consider those toss-ups. So really, just the mainstream media, they've shifted everything toward Clinton and had a huge bias toward Clinton in their predictions and in their coverage of the election, because they would call safe Trump states toss-ups, and they would call the toss-ups leaning Hillary states, and I just sort of pushed it back to the right where it should be in reality. So the toss-ups are the same toss-ups that I mentioned in my video. They're Nevada, Colorado, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and to a lesser extent, Minnesota, and possibly Virginia and New Mexico could be in play as well. But like I predicted in my previous video, I really do not see New Mexico or Virginia going for Donald Trump. Like I mentioned in my video, if Trump wins Virginia or if he wins New Mexico, he's going to win by a landslide. He's going to win by at least 300 electoral votes. If those states end up going red, then we're going to see the whole Rust Belt go red. We might even see Minnesota go red. We'll see New Hampshire go red. We'll see Nevada go red. We'll see Colorado go red. All of those other states would go red as well if New Mexico and Minnesota actually went red. New Mexico and Virginia. My apologies. So that's really where we're at. The election could really go either way, and it's very exciting. And for people like me who care about the outcome of the election a great deal, it's a bit nerve-wracking. It gives me a little bit of anxiety, but not really. I'm just trying to enjoy it. I've done everything that I can. I've made a bunch of videos on YouTube. I've said my piece. People are going to make the decision that they end up deciding to make. And, I'm just going to have to live with whatever people end up deciding. But I really do think Trump's chances are pretty good. I said back in my previous video that it could be 50-50 odds. It could really end up going either way. But I definitely would give the advantage to Trump now. I would say the odds are probably 60-40, 70-30 that Trump will win. Pretty much the inverse of what Nate Silver has predicted on his website. He's saying there's about a 70% chance that Hillary will win. I think that Trump really has a good chance of winning just because he only has to flip one state, or possibly two if they're small states like New Hampshire or Nevada or New Mexico possibly. But he only has to flip one or two states out of these 10 possible swing states, these 10 possible toss-ups or 8 possible toss-ups or whatever you want to label as a toss-up. I mean, that's not very good odds for Clinton, considering that she's not leading in these states by very much at all. They're statistically tied in pretty much all of these toss-up states. So the idea that he could flip one or two, that's not at all outside of the realm of possibility. So I think we really could end up seeing a Trump victory, and that's very exciting. But I'm not going to let my hopes get up too much, and I haven't really spent any time, arguing with liberals or telling liberals, oh, you're so wrong, your prediction's so wrong, because even though they're probably wrong, and even though the odds really aren't in their favor, Hillary could end up winning, or the polls could end up being large-scale electoral fraud in some of these states, and that could really swing the election in her favor. So we just really don't know the outcome, but it's going to be very exciting. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat watching. It'll be very interesting to watch. I think that if I had to make a prediction, I would estimate that the two states, the state that I think would most give Donald Trump the win is Pennsylvania. I think his chances in Pennsylvania are very good. I was just thinking about this today, actually. If you look at Ohio, there has been a massive shift in Ohio from the 2012 election. You have to remember, Ohio, this election, it's basically a safe Trump state. Trump is leading in Ohio by 4 or 5 points now in the aggregate. I think he's going to win Ohio by 5 points. Mitt Romney lost Ohio in 2012 by 3 points. So that's a 7 or 8 point swing in the past 4 years. In a relatively moderate swing state like Ohio. That's huge. Now, I don't predict an 8 point swing all across the country, obviously. I think that it's having a very large effect in Ohio, mainly due to the messages that Trump is oh God, it's late. I'm barely thinking now. I think that it's affecting Ohio. I'm gonna have to edit out. I think we're going to end up seeing a much larger swing. I think that we're going to end up seeing a much larger swing in Ohio because it's in the Rust Belt, and the people of Ohio in that region, they're much more likely to respond positively to the messages that Trump keeps repeating over and over again in his campaign. Trump keeps talking about job creation. He talks about making good trade deals with other countries. He's talking about keeping our jobs in America, reducing unemployment here in America, and really caring about America first. And I feel like that the Rust Belt is sort of ground zero for that. The Rust Belt is really where that's going to switch over the most people and show the biggest swing from the election 4 years ago. And so if we're going to see a 7 or 8 point swing in Ohio, then we're definitely going to see at least somewhat of a swing in these other Rust Belt states as well. So the question really is, how much of a swing is there going to be in the other Rust Belt states? How much of a swing is there going to be from the past election in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, to a lesser extent in Virginia? How much is it going to swing to the right from the previous election? Because if it swings 7, 8, 9 points in all of these Rust Belt states, Trump is going to sweep the Rust Belt. He's going to win every single one of those states. Again, discounting massive voter rigging or something. But even if the swing was, excluding massive voter fraud or something, but even if the swing is not as large, I think that he's still going to at least win Pennsylvania, because Mitt Romney lost Pennsylvania by only 5 points in 2012. That's only 2 points more of a loss than he lost in Ohio. So he lost Ohio by 3 points in 2012, and he lost Pennsylvania by 5 points. So even if there's only a 5 point swing in Pennsylvania instead of a 7 or 8 point swing, that still could tip Trump over the edge. A 2 or 3 point swing, that's not going to do it. But, if you can swing at 5 or 6 points, that's a Trump win. So it really just comes down to that monster vote and how many people actually come out to vote and how big that swing actually is. So that's really why it could go either way. But really, Pennsylvania, Michigan, they're not out of the question. Hillary has been campaigning like crazy in Michigan the past couple days, which signifies that her internal polling has not been very favorable for her at all. I remember watching, it might have been Bill Still or somebody, I remember watching some commentator talking about Hillary campaigning in Michigan these last couple days, and he's saying it would be like if Trump were campaigning in Indiana in these past couple days. If Trump had to campaign in Indiana today and yesterday, the 2-3 days before the election, that would be a really bad sign, that he's not going to win, because Indiana is supposed to be sort of a given for Trump, a given for the Republicans. I know that McCain lost it very narrowly, but McCain was a very weak candidate and Obama was a very strong candidate. So there you go. So if Trump were campaigning in a state like Indiana, that would be very bad for him. Or campaigning in a state like Georgia, in the last few days before the election, that would be a very bad sign. But so Hillary, Pennsylvania, Michigan, these states have gone blue cycle after cycle after cycle. They're supposedly very safe blue states. So why is she campaigning in these states of all places a few days prior to the election and even the day before the election today? Because things are not looking good for her. Those safe blue states are now toss-ups. That is how much Trump has swung this election. This is how much Trump has swung the electorate this election. And I remember, I just have to laugh thinking back at all of these Republicans, all of these conservatives, all of these cuck-servatives, all of these college Republicans just being all angry that Trump ended up getting the nomination, saying that, all of these idiots, all of these low-educated white trash people from trailer parks invaded the Republican Party, and they're electing this racist, sexist idiot. They use the exact same language of the left, the exact same language of the SJWs. They're complaining that, if we had chosen anyone else besides Trump, Hillary would just be crushed because she's such a weak candidate. She's such a poor candidate. I've heard all of these conservatives say there were 17 people running for the Republican Party nomination. There were 16 other great candidates, but they had to choose Trump. And that's not true. Almost all of those other candidates, whether it had been Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, John Kasich, Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, Carly Fiorina, it wouldn't have mattered. They all would have lost in the general for various reasons. Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, John Kasich, they would have lost because they're really no different from Hillary Clinton. They're they're all establishment Republicans. They have pretty much the same policies as Hillary Clinton, other than they really hate abortions and they want taxes to be slightly lower, and Hillary Clinton wants them to be slightly higher. I mean, those are really the only differences. They still want globalism. They still want these endless foreign wars. They still want our country to be involved in foreign affairs all around the world, and they still want to flood our country with immigrants. So there's really no major difference between these sort of Republican establishment characters and Hillary Clinton. And if there's no real difference, the Democrat is going to win, because it's really just going to come down to all of these mindless voters, choosing between the two establishment candidates. And, Hillary is, quote unquote, less scary because, she's an establishment whore too, but she's less bigoted. She's not racist and sexist like the Republicans are. The millennials, they turn out for Hillary and they talk about how Jeb Bush is so awful, or Marco Rubio is so sexist, or they probably would have just dug stuff up on Marco Rubio, to be honest. They probably would have brought the whole gay thing up and talked about, Marco Rubio is secretly gay, but he votes against gay marriage. What a hypocrite. I bet the left would have done that. I would not put that past them. And Jeb Bush, he's such a joke. He would not have had a chance. And then if you look at some of these other sort of outsider candidates like Ben Carson or Ted Cruz, they're just way too conservative and way too religious to ever have won a general election. I'm sorry. Because I don't disagree with everything that Ben Carson and Ted Cruz have said. I think they would be at least somewhat better presidents than, the main Republican establishment candidates, even though I don't disagree with everything that Ted Cruz and Ben Carson say. I think they both have held some very good positions. I think that Ted Cruz has done a pretty good job in the Senate. I agree with them on a lot of things. But they're both very religious, very conservative candidates, and you can't win a general election being super religious anymore. You can't. If you're going to, cite the Bible and cite, serving God, and I know some of my viewers are probably Christian. Well, I'm agnostic. I don't really care about the religiosity of our future president or whoever I'm voting for. And the majority of the public doesn't either. Statistics say that, 76% of the United States is Christian, but how many of them are really fervently Christian? How many people in America actually go to church every Sunday? How many people in America legitimately believe in Christianity? It's quite low. And so many of these quote unquote Christians, they're supporting abortion, they're supporting same-sex marriage, they're supporting no-fault divorce, they're supporting all of these things that really go against their religion. And so of course, these quote-unquote Christians, these cafeteria Christians, they end up voting Democrat. It's like, the Republicans are racist, the Republicans are sexist, so we need to vote Democrat. So the point is, in a general election, Ben Carson or Ted Cruz, they would not have won either. And Carly Fiorina, she was just a mess. She would have gotten crushed. Jeb is a mess. Carly Fiorina is even a bigger mess. And could you imagine her face on the money? It would be so scary. Just imagine Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. That's going to be quite sad for America. But Carly Fiorina, that would be even sadder. I'm sorry. Trump was right about that face on the money. That would be so unsettling. Her face on a dollar bill, so unsettling. No. Scott Walker, same deal. He actually took a position similar to Trump's on immigration, but then his donors were like, no, you can't be against illegal immigration because all of his donors, they profit off of illegal immigration. So, we can't have that. And then Scott Walker went right back to the standard conservative position of we have to let these people all come into the country, let all these people from Mexico flood over our border every year. And give them welfare and give them benefits and not hold them accountable for their crimes when they're out committing crimes. So it doesn't matter. The only two Republican candidates who I would have voted for, in my estimation, the only two Republican candidates who had any chance of winning from the get-go were Donald Trump and Rand Paul. I love Rand Paul. I think Rand Paul would be crushing Hillary Clinton right now if he were the nominee. And to be fair, back when Donald Trump was running in the primary, we definitely thought he was going to perform a little bit better in the debates. We didn't think he'd say quite as many stupid things as he said. I do think overall that Rand Paul would have been more charismatic and overall, I think that the millennial generation and just the public at large would have liked him a lot more than they like Trump. Also, Rand Paul is younger. He hasn't had a reality TV show. He just has a lot less baggage in general. So I think Rand Paul would have been a good choice. He still could be a good potential presidential candidate in 2020 if Trump loses, or 2024. However, he would need to change his stance on immigration, obviously. If Rand Paul would take Trump's stance on immigration, I would be very happy to see him run in 2024. But anyway, so all of these people saying that, Trump was a terrible choice for Republicans, no, all of the other Republicans would have lost. But it seems like most of these establishment Republicans, they're just playing good cop, bad cop, and they're the bad cop. And they know that the Republicans are going to lose, and there's controlled opposition, So, I don't really even care what these conservatives say at this point. The alt-right has risen up, and I guess that's the other thing that I really wanted to express my joy over in this video. I'm just feeling really good tonight. I really wanted to just film this video outside. I could be outside in nature. It just felt right. It just feels like a night where I can just reflect on things before decisions are made tomorrow. And I've just been thinking about my journey ideologically and my journey in terms of where I stand on various political issues. And I just think back. I was thinking of making a video where I talk about sort of how I evolved ideologically, but I can give you a brief summary now. When I was in high school, when I was a teenager, I considered myself to be a liberal. I think that's pretty typical because that's kind of the default in pop culture and in academia and sort of all around you. Sort of the default is that you're a liberal and that Republicans are these evil, sexist, racist, backward hicks, basically. Who they deny science and they deny facts and they want poor people to starve in the street and and they don't care about the environment and they want endless wars. These are all the things that they pile on you about the Republicans when you're young, especially if you live in a very liberal cucked area like Minnesota, like I did. And so my family, all of my immediate family voted Democrat. They still vote Democrat, unfortunately. But I broke away from that and realized that liberalism is stupid. I feel like at least most men do eventually. Women kind of keep the delusion going longer for most of their life on average. But anyway, so when I was probably 18, 19, I looked a little more into alternative media and really what ended up waking me up of all people, and it's really fitting that I'm telling this story now because he's just gained a lot of relevance again in this election cycle, is Alex Jones. I discovered Alex Jones. I actually discovered him through his documentaries, and the documentary that really woke me up and caused me to not be a liberal anymore and to really see liberalism and the Democrat and Republican parties for what they are, which is the globalist party. They don't really care about you. They don't really care about your nation. They don't really care about the well-being of the people of the country. They just care about the well-being of the elite globalist class where, we don't really have actual countries. We don't have separate countries and nations. It's about a one-world government. It's about one government controlling everybody, a one-world economy, and then we just sort of have an elite class and a slave class, and nobody has really their own culture or their own nation or traditions. We all have one language, we all have one currency, and I just feel so vindicated, and I'm sure Alex Jones feels vindicated as well, because definitely back then and until very recently, all of that was really dismissed as sort of conspiracy theories, not having any basis in reality. But really, the alt-right has really exposed that as being the truth. And now with all of these WikiLeaks and just showing how corrupt the Clintons are and how corrupt the political class is, and it's not just the Democratic Party, it's the Republican Party as well. All of these WikiLeaks leaks and the test emails, and what's his name? The guy with Veritas, Paul O'Keefe, I think that's his name. The guy with the Veritas videos as well, infiltrating Hillary Clinton's campaign and her donors. They're all doing that to the Democrats to try to bring down Hillary, because I guess they just like Hillary more than Trump because she's the globalist candidate, I suppose. But it's just as bad with the Republicans, and I'm sure after this election is over, WikiLeaks is going to start dumping a lot of stuff on a lot of the Republican establishment figures as well, because they're just as dirty. Their hands are just as dirty. They're doing just as many corrupt, fucked up things as the Democrats are doing. They're ultimately one party, the globalist party, and it's just so vindicating and so promising, and so it fills me with so much hope and hope for the future that people are waking up and seeing globalism for what it really is. And really, even just 5 years ago, 6 years ago, in 2010, 2011, the whole New World Order, talk of the New World Order, and it was all sort of in conspiracy theory land. Nobody really took it seriously. There wasn't really any mainstream focus or attention on it. Even back in 2010, people weren't even talking about feminism being cancer, SJWism. I mean, that really people really didn't start criticizing that until the Gamergate scandal. It was Zoe Quinn and all of those game review websites all colluding with each other. That was really what sparked all of this anti-SJW videos, and we had Internet Aristocrat pop up, and we had Sargon, and what's his name? I really am not thinking well tonight. I'm not thinking clearly tonight. the other guy. I forget his name. Well, he's not that important. Oh, Thunderfoot. That was not shade. I legitimately forgot Thunderfoot's name. Yeah, Thunderfoot. So those guys popped up and they started complaining about SJWs and feminism. And that really has entered popular culture as well. Now to the point where I'm feeling really good about the future generation, not my generation. I'm a millennial. The millennials are a lost cause. Millennial girls, they're very damaged. The average millennial in America, she's fat, has unnatural hair color, she's covered in piercings and tattoos, and she's just like, and she's just a feminist and spouts feminist rhetoric, and she's just not really marriage material, and it's really sad. It's really sad that we kind of lost a generation of girls to this, and a lot of guys, to be fair too. There's a lot of male feminists and cucks, especially in a lot of these liberal areas. I've seen plenty firsthand, trust me. But it seems really the generation after the millennials, Generation Z, who have been born in the very late 90s and early 2000s, the generation who are starting to become teenagers now, it seems like they're really beginning to reject feminism. They're beginning to reject the whole SJW ideology, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more future. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more future libertarians, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more future. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more future libertarians, and good God.